See El Paso is a 10th anniversary edition of Mark Paulda's first book, celebrating El Paso. The book shows how El Paso has changed over the last 10 years and runs a little over 200 pages. It contains El Pasoan stories and accounts of the city from a personal viewpoint and shows over 200 photographs of the city and is completely bilingual. The book also includes our sister city of Ciudad Juarez. Here to tell us about his latest book is photographer Mark Paulda. Welcome to State of the Arts.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I can't believe it's been 10 years since your other book.
It seems like a few months ago.
Right?
10 years. It just, time flies by. It's scary.
And chronicling everything, I mean, you've definitely seen how things have changed.
Yes, exactly. Especially in the downtown area. With revitalization and the renovation of some of our treasured buildings, the Trost buildings.
I know, right?
It's all very exciting to see that and see them come back to life. So it's been fun looking back at the images that I captured 10 years ago versus what some of the buildings look like today, like the Mills building, what's happening with the plaza. I could go on and on.
I can't even remember what the Mills looked like before.
Ooh, it was brown and drab.
It was just kind of non-existent,
It
right?
was. And it really just restoring it back to its original state just brought it back to life.
So did you know when you did the first book that you would do the second book?
I didn't know that there would be another book at all.
Right.
You know, I thought there's no book on El Paso, and so that's why I did that first book. And it surprised all of us. It surprised me, it surprised my publisher. It went on to be the fastest selling book the publisher has had, and of course, a bestseller. So that opened the door to a second book, and now we're here at number 3, and that's very exciting. I'm very honored to be able to do that. And this book really is a gift back to El Paso. Because El Paso really has given so much to me and supported me. And a lot of the things that I do, not only in the city, but around the world, I wouldn't be the person I am without El Paso in my life.
It's cool like that, right?
It is. We're different here, you know.
Yeah.
This book really is an answer. You know, when I travel around, people ask me, where are you from? You know, I always get that question. And when I say El Paso, they have this dumbfounded look on their face. And it's why El Paso?
Right.
And this is the answer.
You're like, because here's this beautiful book.
Well, right. I mean, here's our city out here, really at the edge of a lot of things. People sort of forget us. Even our great state of Texas forgets us. But the stories that are in there, I went all across the city, got a variety of people to share their experiences with El Paso and what El Paso means to them. And as you read through them, it's very clear why El Paso. And they're very endearing, some of the stories. And the accounts that I was given by the various people, they're very genuine. And sincere, and people really do love the city, whether they live in the city still or they have moved away. We have stories from both people.
So how did you find those folks, or how did you say, okay, you know, I'd like to capture this story, I'd like to share this story?
Some were deliberate, people that I knew had a long-term relationship with El Paso and would have experienced both cities, Juarez and El Paso. When we were younger, we would cross the border and go to the nightclubs or whatever, and you know, even if we weren't of age. And
we're talking about drink and drown. Like, what is that? I'm like, wow, you know, this phenomenon. Got to experience.
Exactly. And there are some people who it goes back into the 50s and 60s, and they have stories, or stories of some people who had lived in Juarez and they would take the bus and be dropped off downtown near the Newberry building. But as I was going out, getting photographs like Ballet Folklorico, they're wonderful people. Once I was there and I was photographing them, they had stories and they wanted to share them. And so I found people that way as well, just by chance. So what I wanted was a good representation. And yeah, I'm a West Sider now, and I just didn't want it a west side perspective. I wanted east and northeast, and we got all of that.
Which is
and
important.
People in Juarez as well. We got their accounts.
It's super important because I think folks that aren't from here say like, oh, it's a small city, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But then if you live here, West Siders don't necessarily go to East Side. East Siders don't necessarily go to the West Side, and they are these very different parts of the city.
Unique. Yeah. They are unique. So it really was important to get all perspectives, and I think we did a good job doing that. I hope everyone likes that. The stories, to me, the photographs are nice. I'm biased. I took them.
It's kind of your thing.
But it's the stories that really touch the heart in this book.
And why did you decide to go bilingual?
Well, our city's bilingual.
Mm-hmm.
And it took a bit to convince the publisher to do that. They kept telling me, no, books like that don't sell. And I said, well, this is El Paso.
Right.
This is how we communicate every day. Our signs are that way. We speak that way. Sometimes we speak Spanglish. And actually, some of the stories and the quotes in the book are Spanglish.
Right.
And it represents who we are as a city, really, what we live with every day.
I'm glad you convinced them to do it.
Me too. And now they're thrilled. And it's actually the first photography book that is bilingual. So that's sort of fun as well.
I find that hard to believe.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. So in a way, El Paso's leading the way here, I guess.
Well, you have something to do with that too.
Well.
Aside from the book, what other adventures have you been on? Because I know you're always up to something.
Oh, my goodness. Well, I do travel around the world. We could spend a lot of time me talking about the experiences I've had. I went and lived with a nomadic Berber tribe in North Africa and traveled with them from the high Atlas Mountains into the Sahara Desert sand dunes.
Do you just say, excuse me, may I?
Well, it's a long story how it all happened.
Yeah.
The first time I went to Morocco, I met, actually a man found me. He grabbed my arm in the Medina and just started talking to me. And 10 years later, we're still friends. His name is Hakeem. And it's his tribe, and he's the one who made that happen.
That's so cool.
And it was just a random meeting, and I went with it. I was sort of fearless at the time. And I'm working with a young man also in Bali. Gede is his name, hugely talented. And I met Gede. I wanted authentic Balinese culture, not what the tour guides would take us on. And so I went to this small village of about 150 people, showed up at the temple, and there was this young man looking at me saying, can I help you? Wondering, why are you here?
Yeah.
And
so
when I right, exactly. When I explained, he welcomed me in. It turns out he's the son of the village leader, explained everything that was happening with their ceremony. It was a full moon ceremony. And so I gave him my camera that day because he told me that his main goal in life was to help preserve Balinese culture and to tell the story of Bali. He was 22 at the time.
And he already knew this was important.
And I thought, right. And I thought to myself, what 22-year-old do I know who would have such a lofty goal? Right. I didn't. And so I gave him my camera and I said, capture everything you can. I'm leaving to go back to Texas. Send me photos, video, whatever. So I really understand what you want. And months went by. And I didn't hear from him. And I thought, okay, I've lost the camera. Then one day, email after email showed up, and it was hundreds of photos, videos. He had written over 100 pages.
Wow.
And I thought, okay, this young man is serious. I can't bail now, can I? So I got him his own camera, laptop, everything he would need to do this project. And I went back to Bali, and I taught him everything I know about photography. And it just turns out he is naturally talented. I'm really probably learning from him now. And we're still working on the project. This is 5 years that we've been doing this. His images have been on covers of magazines. He's had his own exhibitions.
That's incredible.
One time, a year ago, January, I was at the New York Times travel show. So I was in New York City, and I thought, I'm going to the Indonesian consulate because they need to know about Gede. And so I showed up, And they let me in, and I talked to the number 2 person at the Indonesian consulate. Her name is Willa, and told her the story of how we met, what we've been doing, how talented he is. And she brought in the consul general, so I got to meet him, Abdul. And now the Indonesian consulate uses Gide's photos and videos throughout the world to promote Indonesia.
That's so cool. Just because you're like, I'm going to go to the consulate.
Right. I am a bit bold that way. What's the worst anyone can say?
No, right? But the answer is no until you ask.
That's right. And so it really is remarkable that chance meeting in this small village has turned into this wonderful thing for Gide. And he's
so
very
cool.
deserving. He's a very humble young man and very, very talented.
Okay, well, we're almost out of time, but you have a book called See El Paso.
Yes.
So if we want it, how do we get our hands on it?
At the moment, of course, Barnes & Noble.
Okay.
Dorsey's on the west side, Dorsey's Cards and Gifts. She's selling them left and right there.
Mm-hmm.
And Amazon has it. And we're working on getting it placed in other retail. The book is late coming out, so we've had a little challenge getting it placed in other stores. But Dorsey's, Barnes & Noble, Amazon.
It's here in time for the holidays. Just saying.
It is, and it would make a great gift. We're hearing that.
I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. Today, my guest has been photographer Mark Paulda. He's got his 3rd book out called See El Paso, and it's a 10th anniversary edition of his first book called Celebrating El Paso. You can find it at local Barnes & Nobles, Dorsey's, or on Amazon, and I'm sure here shortly we'll probably get it placed all sorts of other places. Today, my guest has been Mark Paulda. Thank you for coming to State of the Arts.
Thank you, Marina.